Hello, welcome to installment number 10 of my mini series that I am doing like a bit of a WIP roundup. I'm Tonya and this is Karma's a Stitch. This is our channel where I'm typically with my son. He's clearly not here right now. And I'm just trying to do little mini episodes to get current with my WIPs and get you guys current with the WIPs that I have, kind of give me a good overview for the tail end of this year. Yes, so I'm trying to keep these episodes right about 10 minutes or less. So I've got stuff to say about this one. So I'm gonna get on it. This is a Stephen West project. Oh, Stephen. I love his patterns. I never fail to learn something. So I have thoroughly enjoyed his patterns and his taste in designing. Some of the patterns are so out there. And I'm like, ooh, goodness. And there's two things to know about that. Number one, colors make or break his projects for me. For me, you could have a project that you look at and you're like, oh goodness, no, I couldn't make something like that. I would never wear it. But you could see it in another color palette and it could be the most beautiful piece of art you've seen. So keep that in mind if you have not done Stephen West, because that is one thing that I have learned with him. The other thing is the stitches are fun. Never boring. I have thoroughly enjoyed every one of his projects. And there's one that I've done that I was going through it. I had won this pattern. I had won the yarn to go with this pattern. And as I was doing it, the color palette was not a color palette I would have chosen. And as I was doing it, I'm talking to my mom and I'm like, holy cow, Mom, I don't like how this looks. I don't even want to look at it. It's not pretty. She's like, Tonya, then tear it out. Just get rid of it. What are you doing? And I couldn't tear it out because I was having such a great time knitting the pattern. I've learned over these last few years, I'm definitely a process knitter and not a finished object knitter. I love the process of knitting, of crafting, of making. It is something I truly find joy in. So with that being said, this pattern is called the Eyelet Burst. I don't have it printed in here with me because it's one where you don't really need the pattern. You need the pattern for less than an inch of it, truly less than an inch, because it's essentially all garter with a few yarn overs. And within that first inch, you've placed your stitch markers where all of your yarn overs are going. So this has been a perfect project for me to do on Zoom, to do in my car, in waiting rooms. I mean, in a social setting where I just want to do something with my fingers and my hands, but I don't want to have to think about it. This project has been perfect for that. Now, it calls for 4 skeins of yarn and in a fade, okay? And so I went on a trip to Portland, Oregon. It was a road trip with my son, and I went searching for a fade. And I found it, and I also, when I travel, I like to get, sorry, one second. I also like to purchase local. Small business. I love that. It feels good to me. So I found a yarn that I truly did. It was beautiful. Like, it was stunning. And she had loads of colors. And the fade that I ended up with, the fade that she had available happened to be colors that I loved. So the wool that I ended up with is Teal Torch Knits from Portland, Oregon. And this is their sock base. It's a 75-25 superwash merino, 463 yards to 100 grams. And I got 3 colors. The 4th color I got at my local yarn shop. And it was not part of this person's dyeing. And it was the darkest one that I got at my local yarn shop. So you'll be able to see this, the first 3 colors, because that's how far I am in this project. Now, I do want to say, with this project, with this yarn for this project, let's see, I don't know if you can see it. Can you see the blue on my finger and right here? Like when I'm knitting, when I'm getting ready to knit, okay, this is how I hold my yarn. That's where it's at. That's where my yarn sits. Okay, and I have done, just before I recorded this, I've done 1 row of this pattern, and I have blue here, and I have blue here. And that's just from me holding my project, okay? Just from going like this as I'm knitting. And I have blue up here and here, and that's just from 1 row. Now, blue and red tend to do that sometimes, don't they? And I absolutely cannot blame this yarn dyer. It's indie dyed yarn, and it's something that we just kind of grow to expect. And I should have, like when I caked up this color, because here's the color I'm working with right now. And when I caked this up and it was going from the Swift on to the ball winder, it was changing my colors at that point in time. It was changing the colors of my fingers at that point in time. I should have stopped. I knew better and I ignored it. I should have rinsed it. I should have rinsed it and tried to set the yarn a little bit better. Because yarn dyers, it's not their fault. Like, it happens. Sometimes it's a little excessive, but blues and reds, I'm okay. I'm okay. This is on me. I knew it before I started knitting with it, before I started putting it in my project. The first 2 colors did not do that with their yarn. But it feels good and it's squishy, and I'm okay. But it is something that I'm having to deal with right now. So anyway, the Eyelet Burst by Stephen West. And it's on a 40-inch needle. I believe I have it on a 40-inch needle. I'm using my Likey. Yeah, it's a US 5 40-inch driftwood Likey. But it's certainly not spreading out like 40 inches, is it? There are eyelets in here that you can't really see. There's my right side, because it is just garter. There's some more eyelets over here, but I have it all crammed onto this 40-inch needle. Now, I want to share kind of, because I started this with a group of people that I Zoom with, and we all started the Eyelet Burst, and we were all at different stages. And someone was talking about how they had gotten their eyelets kind of slipped, like it's shifted over one. And I was like, how in the world? Like, it's just a yarn over. How does that happen? Well, I soon figured out, because when they tell you where to put your placeholder. The pattern tells you where to put your marker. And you'll notice right here, I have 2 markers. Okay. I have one on my work, and I have one on my needle, right? So when I'm knitting, they tell me where to place this one. But when your project is small, sometimes your stitch marker can slip under that yarn over, and it very easily gets out of alignment, and you don't realize it until you've passed it a little bit. And so what I ultimately ended up doing, everywhere that there's a stitch marker, I put a second stitch marker that says, okay, on this side of the stitch marker, because that's where this stitch marker is. So on this side of this marker, that's where my yarn over goes. Okay. And so there's a few places like here there were 2 stitch markers they told us to place. And so I have one on each side. I know that there's a yarn over on this side and a yarn over on this side. So that is how I have managed to keep my eyelets from shifting. Oh, it's so pretty. It's so pretty. So, like I said, it's got 4 colors. Let's look down at the bottom. So here's my first color. And you fade it in with the second color. And then you do a little fade in to the third color. And then I'm going to do a fade in to the 4th color. So this will be my final color. Now, what I've done, if you looked at this odd shape ball hugger here, I have wound off, okay, grams to fade with, when I go to add this 4th color, I have this much off, maybe this here. So here's color number 3. When I use this up, I already have 15 grams wound off of that skein. So when I get to this, that is when I'm going to start fading in this. Does that make sense? So I don't lose, so I have enough left to fade into the next color. So I did that with each of the colors. I have so enjoyed this. The pattern, I mean, one other thing with Stephen West is there tends to be quite a bit of leftover for me when I do his projects. And I'm sure his patterns are written so that no matter what your tension, you won't run out. But with my tension, what my tension is, I tend to have a lot of leftover, and I don't like having leftover, which you would have noticed recently with that boho blush shawl. I don't like to have leftover. So this shawl is going to be bigger because I'm going all the way to the end of each skein. I'm not stopping until the end of each skein. So it will be a full four skeins of yarn. So there is my first Stephen West that we will be discussing. It is a sheer joy that I've gotten to be able to do this. I love the inspiration that comes from my Zoom group. It's such a great group of ladies. So if any of you are watching, thank you so much. You guys are all an inspiration. And that's it for this installment. Bye, guys.